2 years ago, the fabric of my life was abruptly torn asunder when I unearthed the unsettling truth of my wife's infidelity. At 31 years old, I found myself grappling with a betrayal that shook the very foundations of our family unit. My wife, a 27-year-old woman whom I'll refer to as Dedra, and I were parents to two tender souls, a precocious 4-year-old daughter named Sammy and a cherubic 2-year-old son named Timmy. Our journey together began nearly 6 years ago, a whirlwind romance that culminated in marriage after a mere 13 months of courtship. Our professional pursuits eventually led us to the East Coast, where we spent 4 years building a life and welcoming our beautiful children into the world. However, fate intervened earlier this year when an enticing job opportunity beckoned us back to our hometowns, where both sets of grandparents eagerly awaited the chance to bask in the presence of their beloved grandchildren. The decision to return home carried with it a sense of nostalgia and promise, a return to roots intertwined with the prospect of familial closeness. Nestled amidst the familiar embrace of our hometowns, we found solace in the idea of residing in the family home, a majestic abode ensconced within 3 acres of sprawling land, adorned with a tranquil creek meandering through its wooded expanse. Rather than seek out a new residence, we opted to breathe new life into the ancestral dwelling, a testament to our commitment to preserving familial heritage. In a symbolic gesture, we agreed to rent the family home from my parents, who harbored a fervent desire to ensure its legacy endured for generations to come. Despite their initial reluctance to accept rent, I insisted, recognizing the importance of supporting their retirement plans and safeguarding the property's inheritance for future generations. This decision, rooted in reverence for tradition and a sense of familial duty, underscored our unwavering commitment to our shared history. As we embarked on the journey of revitalizing the historic home, we sought the expertise of a local contracting company renowned for its adept handling of older properties. Guided by the seasoned hand of the company's owner, a venerable figure in the community, we ventured to breathe new life into the time-worn abode. The decision to entrust our ancestral home to their care was informed by their stellar reputation, underscored by an impressive online review score boasting an 82% 5-star rating garnered from nearly 700 reviews. Yet, unbeknownst to me, this seemingly innocuous undertaking would serve as a harbinger of turmoil, ushering in a period of upheaval that would forever alter the course of our lives. So, let's talk about this contracting company for a moment. Their track record speaks volumes. If a project falls within their scope, they're in and out, like clockwork, within a matter of weeks. That's efficiency. A few weeks after we received their estimate, they hit the ground running, wasting no time in commencing repairs. Every day's end saw the project area pristine, a testament to their professionalism. Suffice it to say, my wife and I were thoroughly impressed with their work ethic and attention to detail. Now, let me introduce you to Brock. Among the crew, he stood out. A guy of my own age, he exuded charm and amiability. My daughter, ever the observant one, affectionately dubbed him the window man due to her glimpses of him through our second-story windows. While the team as a whole performed admirably, it was Brock who emerged as the driving force behind most of our home's transformations. With repairs completed on schedule, we settled into our newly refurbished abode. My wife and kids took to the place like ducks to water, and I was content with my new professional prospects. Life was sailing smoothly until an innocuous conversation with my daughter rocked the boat. During one of my wife's outings with her mother and mine, I found myself in the backyard with my daughter, reveling in some quality father-daughter time. As she nestled into my lap, she dropped a bombshell. I saw Mommy napping with the window man. Now, let me interject here to emphasize that my daughter is no ordinary child. Gifted beyond her years, her keen intellect has been remarked upon by everyone who crosses her path. So, when she made this revelation, I couldn't dismiss it outright. Though her imagination knows no bounds, her capacity for honesty is equally boundless. Intrigued and taken aback, I probed further, seeking clarification on what she'd witnessed. According to her, my wife had put both Timmy and her down for their afternoon nap, and that's when she stumbled upon this scene. Sammy recounted the incident with Timmy's binky vividly. Apparently, Timmy had dropped his beloved pacifier behind the bed and was in tears, calling out to Sammy for help. Unable to reach it herself, she ventured off in search of her mom. When I inquired if she had called out for Mommy, she shook her head, indicating that she had simply walked over to our bedroom door and called her from there. Curious about what transpired next, I prodded Sammy for more details. She recounted how Mommy swiftly emerged from bed, enveloped in a blanket, and rushed over to kiss her before leading her by the hand to retrieve the binky and tuck them back in. Then came the gut-wrenching revelation. Sammy mentioned seeing the window man lying on my side of the bed. It was a blow to hear, but I masked my turmoil, maintaining a stoic exterior. Eager to uncover the full extent of what Sammy had witnessed, I continued my gentle interrogation. She disclosed how Mommy left the bedroom and engaged in conversation with the window man before they ventured outside. Curious about her subsequent actions, I learned that Sammy had risen to peer out the window, catching a glimpse of him driving away down the driveway. Grateful for her honesty, I showered Sammy with affection and reassurance, thanking her for confiding in me. But then came the moment that shattered me. Sammy revealed that Mommy had instructed her to keep their encounter a secret. It was heart-wrenching to witness my little girl burdened with such a heavy secret, but I masked my distress, assuring her that our conversation would remain between us. Sensing her unease, I deftly shifted the mood, indulging in some light-hearted banter to alleviate the tension. Upon my wife's return, she beckoned me inside, leaving our mothers to tend to Sammy and Timmy on the porch. Stepping outside, she presented me with a gift she had purchased for Sammy, unaware of the weighty secret she had just placed upon our daughter's small shoulders. The gift my wife presented Sammy was something she picked out for her upcoming birthday, which isn't until October. When I asked why she bought it now, she explained that she wanted to give it to Sammy immediately. This came as a surprise since Sammy hadn't been inquiring about this particular gift and wasn't expecting it until her birthday. Additionally, my wife and I have established clear guidelines with Sammy regarding receiving large gifts, restricted to birthdays and Christmas. Sammy has always understood and accepted these terms without issue. Strangely, after choosing the gift a couple of months ago, Sammy never mentioned it again. My wife attempted to justify the early purchase by emphasizing how wonderful Sammy has been lately and wanting to reward her. While I assured her I wasn't upset, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a subtle attempt to sway Sammy into keeping my wife's secret. When my wife presented Sammy with the gift, she hesitated, expressing concern that she wasn't supposed to receive it until her birthday. Dudra insisted, citing Sammy's exemplary behavior. But to our surprise, Sammy refused, expressing a desire to wait until her birthday to open it. She looked to me for support, and I intervened, suggesting we put the gift away in her closet for safekeeping. My wife was taken aback by Sammy's reaction, but I wasn't surprised. Sammy's intelligence and intuition often astound me, and her reluctance to accept the gift until her birthday was consistent with her character. We stowed the gift away, and the rest of the day was spent with family, enjoying each other's company. Although I outwardly participated in the festivities, my mind was consumed by Sammy's revelation. Later that night, I contemplated confronting my wife about the situation but ultimately decided against it. I feared she would deny everything if Sammy's account turned out to be true. Instead, I feigned the need to work early the next morning, opting to investigate further while my wife slept. I meticulously checked our home computer and her phone, finding nothing incriminating. Doubt crept in. Had Sammy fabricated the entire story? It was a possibility I couldn't ignore. However, the level of detail provided by Sammy was too vivid to dismiss as mere imagination. The rest of the day was spent at my parents' house, where we caught up with my aunt and uncle, who had flown in from out of town. It had been over 2 years since I last saw them, so it was a joy to reconnect and introduce them to Timmy, whom they hadn't met before. Despite the pleasant visit, my mind lingered on Sammy's revelation. Upon returning to work on Monday, I couldn't shake off the nagging thoughts. I drove past our home several times throughout the day, hoping to dispel my suspicions. The same routine continued on Tuesday and Wednesday, yielding no evidence. However, a strong gut feeling persisted, compelling me to take action. Considering hiring a private investigator, I opted instead to purchase a camera system from Best Buy. Utilizing my free time while Dudra and Sammy were attending an evening event, I installed the cameras strategically. One camera was discreetly positioned outside near the garage, overlooking the driveway. Another was placed in the living room, and the third was installed in our master bedroom. Carefully concealed, these cameras remained unnoticed unless deliberately sought out. Though I worried about Dudra discovering the camera in our bedroom, its placement on the crown molding ensured inconspicuousness, blending seamlessly with the decor. I activated the system before leaving for work each day and disabled it upon my return. Since my family rarely frequented the living room, bedroom, or driveway during the day, the cameras remained largely inactive. Any motion triggered an alert on my phone, providing real-time updates. Everything seemed routine until one Tuesday afternoon at 1:46 p.m., when a notification from the driveway camera jolted me. Hastily, I checked the footage. I spotted a truck from the contracting company pulling up the driveway, instantly piquing my curiosity. As Brock emerged and confidently strode towards the front door, a wave of apprehension washed over me. My gut churned with unease, sensing that something was amiss. With a sinking feeling, I watched Brock enter the house, his purpose unclear but unsettling. Moments later, an alert from the living room camera confirmed my worst fears. The footage revealed my wife and Brock locked in an intimate embrace, a betrayal unfolding before my eyes. My heart hammered in my chest as I grappled with the shock and devastation of what I had just witnessed. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was cheating on me with a man we had welcomed into our home. In a whirlwind of emotions, I felt a surge of anger, betrayal, and disbelief coursing through me. But amidst the turmoil, a steely resolve began to take hold. I knew I couldn't let this deception go unchecked. I had to confront my wife and uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. With a sense of grim determination, I rushed to my car, my mind racing with thoughts of how to handle the situation. I dialed my mom's number, my voice trembling as I explained the heartbreaking scene I had just witnessed. Urgently, I asked her to meet me at the house, needing her support and guidance more than ever as I navigated the familiar streets towards home. My thoughts were consumed by a whirlwind of questions and doubts. How long had this affair been going on? Had my wife been unfaithful before? And most importantly, how could I confront her without completely losing my composure? Upon arriving at the house, I found myself grappling with a mix of emotions: anger at my wife's betrayal, sorrow at the impending collapse of my marriage, and a deep sense of longing for the life I thought we had built together. Summoning all the strength I could muster, I dialed my brother, aunt, and uncle, seeking their support and solidarity in what promised to be a difficult confrontation. With their assurances ringing in my ears, I steeled myself for the inevitable showdown that awaited me inside. As I stepped through the front door, a surge of adrenaline coursed through me, propelling me towards the truth I so desperately sought. With each step, my resolve hardened, fueled by a potent mix of anger, heartbreak, and determination. As I stood there, recording the unfolding scene on my phone, a myriad of emotions surged within me. Brock's apologies, though earnest, felt hollow against the backdrop of betrayal. Meanwhile, my wife, her face concealed by the sheets, wept inconsolably, her words a painful reminder of the shattered trust between us. Minutes stretched into an eternity as the room resonated with the weight of remorse and regret. Brock, now fully dressed, sat on the floor, his demeanor a mix of shame and contrition. My wife's tearful confessions pierced the silence, her pleas for forgiveness echoing in the confined space. Eventually, with a heavy heart, I instructed Brock to leave, a palpable tension lingering in the air as he made his exit. Alone with my wife, her tear-streaked face a haunting image, I grappled with a torrent of conflicting emotions. While her apologies tugged at my heartstrings, the betrayal ran deep, casting a shadow over our once unshakable bond. Summoning every ounce of resolve, I reached out to my mother-in-law, her arrival marking the beginning of a tumultuous exchange. As accusations flew and emotions ran high, the weight of the situation bore down on us all. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a glimmer of solidarity, a shared understanding of the gravity of the moment. As my wife departed, her demeanor marked by a mixture of shock and embarrassment, I found solace in the embrace of my mother-in-law, her words of comfort a balm to my wounded soul. Alone once more, I grappled with the harsh reality of my fractured marriage, the pain of betrayal etched into every fiber of my being. In the days that followed, I navigated a labyrinth of legal proceedings, each step a painful reminder of the irreparable damage inflicted upon my family. Despite my wife's desperate pleas for reconciliation, I remained steadfast in my decision, unwilling to entertain the possibility of a second chance. With the guidance of legal counsel, I orchestrated the removal of my wife's belongings, each item a painful reminder of a life once shared. As I watched her depart, A sense of finality washed over me, signaling the end of a chapter fraught with heartache and betrayal. In the quiet moments that followed, I sought solace in the embrace of my children, their innocence a beacon of hope in the midst of turmoil. With each passing day, I found strength in the knowledge that, despite the pain of the present, a brighter tomorrow awaited, a future forged from the ashes of betrayal and built upon the foundation of resilience and unwavering resolve. I proceed to the office while she enters the house. My workday extends until 5 o'clock, after which I head out to grab dinner at a restaurant and return home by 6:30 p.m. My wife and her mother have dinner with the kids before my arrival. When I'm approximately 5 minutes away from home, I inform my mother-in-law. Subsequently, my wife exits to the car while her mom remains indoors with the kids. Upon arrival, I bypass my wife in the car and enter the house directly. Typically, I engage in a brief conversation with my mother-in-law to recap the day before her departure. The ensuing 12 hours are dedicated to spending time with my kids, and the cycle repeats itself relentlessly, 7 days a week. I recognize that this arrangement may appear extreme to some, but my aversion towards my wife is profound. If it were up to me, I would have prohibited her from ever seeing my kids again. However, I acknowledge the impracticality of such a notion. The anger I harbor towards her is intense, fueled by the betrayal of having a stranger in our bed while our children were within earshot. Her subsequent instruction to our daughter to lie for her is, in my eyes, unforgivable. Seeking legal recourse, I instructed my lawyer to pursue full custody, although she advised that such an outcome was unlikely. However, there remains a possibility of obtaining 50/50 custody, with my home designated as the primary residence for the children. Despite my wife's persistent belief that she could win me back, her attempts to sway me with offers, including the proposal of an open relationship, fell on deaf ears. In an attempt to salvage her reputation, my wife commenced therapy sessions 3 times a week, while her mother propagated the notion that she had temporarily lost her sanity during the affair. Such claims, I believe, are a sham, designed to mitigate her culpability. Refusing to entertain her excuses, I maintained a resolute silence, rebuffing my mother-in-law's inquiries regarding reconciliation with a simple assertion of impossibility. As for my wife's purported remorse, I remained skeptical, unwilling to entertain the notion of forgiveness in the face of her deceit. I believe her remorse was self-centered, focused solely on her own situation and the fact that she was caught. In her warped perception, she seemed to think that having an affair with Brock was acceptable as long as it didn't impact our relationship. She even had the audacity to send me an email explaining how she gave me her all, including her body, even during the affair. As time passed, I remained steadfast in my determination to expedite the divorce proceedings. Meanwhile, she grew increasingly desperate, attempting daily to engage in conversation with me. However, I chose to communicate solely via email, restricting our interactions to matters concerning our children. Whenever she broached the topic of our relationship, my response was consistent: our marriage was over, and we would only maintain a co-parenting arrangement. Several months later, I finally succeeded in divorcing Deidre. Yet, the process was far more arduous than I had anticipated, marred by drama that prolonged the finalization of proceedings. My mother-in-law confided in me, revealing that Deidre had contemplated ending her own life, expressing sentiments along the lines of not wanting to live without me. She implored me to speak with Deidre, and although I was initially reluctant, I eventually relented and agreed to meet with her, in the presence of both my mother-in-law and my own mother. During the meeting, Deidre poured out her heart, professing her deep remorse and outlining the lengths she was willing to go to in order to earn my forgiveness. She repeatedly pleaded with me to give her 6 months to prove herself. I let her speak her piece, allowing her to exhaust all her efforts. However, once she had finished, I made it unequivocally clear that I no longer saw her as a romantic partner and had no interest in any form of reconciliation, even if only for a fleeting moment. Following our conversation, my mother-in-law informed me that Deidre had sunk into a deep depression, confining herself to the house and refusing to venture out. In fact, my mother-in-law began visiting at 6:30 a.m. When I departed for work, she would attend to the children, preparing their breakfast and dressing them before returning to her house with them to be with Deidre. She mentioned that Deidre seemed distant from them, spending most of her time secluded in her room, crying and longing for me. My daughter picked up on this behavior and inquired why mommy was constantly in tears. It deeply unsettled her, and even my son Timmy, though too young to fully grasp the situation, seemed affected. I explained to Sammy that mommy and I were now living in separate houses. I assured her that she, Timmy, and I resided in our home, while mommy stayed with Grammy. Once I clarified this, she seemed reassured. Her primary concern was the possibility of moving to Grammy's house as well. Despite her affection for Grammy and her mom, I sensed her stronger attachment to me. She fretted about leaving our home, particularly her room and the nearby creek where she enjoyed playing. I reassured her that such a separation would never occur, easing her worries. The drama with Deidre didn't end there. As the date for our final divorce hearing approached, Deidre's desperation intensified. She bombarded me with numerous calls and texts during my work hours, professing all the ways she would make me happy if I stayed with her. She made grand promises, attempting to persuade me to reconsider our separation. The day before the hearing, I received a call from my mother-in-law, informing me that Deidre had been rushed to the hospital by ambulance, suspected of having a heart attack. Tests revealed severe dehydration as the cause, as she hadn't eaten for 3 days despite claiming to have consumed water. It seemed she intentionally neglected her health to delay the divorce proceedings. Her tactics succeeded, as the hearing was postponed until after the new year, then further delayed due to inclement weather. Finally, in early March, the hearing took place, and I was granted a divorce. Fortunately, I had substantial evidence of Deidre's infidelity, including video proof, although her attorney and she provided a full confession to the judge. Regarding asset division, I retained nearly 63% under the judge's ruling, securing a favorable outcome despite the challenging circumstances. I brought assets into the marriage. Nonetheless, Deidre ended up receiving $71,000 from me, along with child support, but no alimony. As I mentioned, I fared relatively well, but the notion of paying child support to her irks me. We share custody equally, with my home designated as the primary residence. I'm footing half the bill and also providing her share. It feels unjust. The legal system appears heavily biased against fathers. Currently, we maintain the same 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. arrangement, 7 days a week, which works effectively, especially for the children. They benefit from daily interaction with both parents. While I've resumed communication with my ex, it solely pertains to our children. If she inquires about my well-being, I steer the conversation back to the kids. Regarding a common question I've received, have I disclosed the conversation with Sammy, where she mentioned mommy napping with a window man, to anyone else? The answer is no, and I don't intend to, at least not in the foreseeable future. I made a promise to Sammy that it would remain our secret. As for Sammy, perhaps in 20 or 30 years, I might consider discussing it with her. For now, I hope she has forgotten the incident entirely. She hasn't brought it up again and remains as vibrant and joyful as ever. Thus, I don't plan to broach the subject with her again. That concludes my story. It may not be a happy ending, but considering the circumstances, it's about as good as it gets. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.